Hey everybody, Miss Lynch here. This is chapter 23, part 1. Okay. I do not have my computer with me. I ran off and left it at home. So I have this lecture pulled up on the projector in front of me. So if you're watching, I will be looking up in the corner quite a bit. But I do have my little printout of notes. So I think this should be just fine. Okay. So, chapter 23, let me just confirm this is working. Okay. All right. We concluded with the end of World War II. Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze for a second. Okay. Concluded with the end of World War II, and that put us at 1945, okay? And whenever, the last thing I said whenever we left off was that coming out of World War II, you know, the United States had the atomic bomb. So when the war ends, the US emerges as top dog, okay? So our dominant global power, all right? I said that this would naturally cause conflict, and so that's what we're going to talk about today, okay? Alrighty, so Cold War. So the origins, this chapter only goes to 1953. The Cold War goes until 1989 and then 1991. So it's official end, but so we're just going to get into the origins of things, okay? Here we go. All right, origins of the Cold War. So like I said, the U.S. emerged as the world's greatest power coming out of World War II. We have sole possession of the atomic bomb at this time. And the only power that in any way could rival the U.S. was the Soviet Union, all right? Their armies occupied most of Eastern Europe and Eastern Germany. And remember, they were very influential in bringing about the end of the European front of World War II, in addition to the influx of U.S. troops. But Russia the Soviet Union is also a very powerful country at this point, okay? Or union, I should say. Okay. The roots of containment. So going back a couple of chapters, we had talked about the first wave of our Red Scare, which was the fear of communism spreading to the United States. Okay, so this era of the beginning of the Cold War, this is our second wave, okay? And the United States will adopt a policy of containment, okay? So containing communism from spreading elsewhere, okay? This will be the theme for the next 30 years, so the next generation, all right? Okay, it seemed all but inevitable that the two major powers to emerge from the war would come into conflict. We have the long telegram from Moscow, in which an American diplomat, George Kennan, advised the Truman administration that the Soviets could not be dealt with as a normal government, and he encourages this idea of containing communism, okay? In Britain, Winston Churchill gives his what will become known as his Iron Curtain speech, which he uses this terminology as a euphemism for our containment policy, drawing the Iron Curtain, ending the spread, okay? So this speech popularized the idea of an impending long-term struggle between the U.S. and the Soviets. So it just kind of gets everyone in this mindset that this will go on for a long time, and then it will do just that. All right. Okie dokie. So yeah, our first wave of looking at the Soviet Union, we're now in our Cold War, but this policy will become known as the Truman Doctrine, okay? So President Truman soon determined to put the policy of containment into effect. He rolled out the heaviest weapon in his arsenal, his theatrical arsenal, which was the defense of freedom. Okay, so this rhetoric that the United States represents freedom, the Soviet Union represents communism, and everything that goes against the American ideals. Okay, so it's us versus them, right? Drawing that line. So that will become the rhetoric that defines the Cold War, okay? Okie dokie. So yeah, I will quit saying okie dokie, sorry. So yeah, this becomes known as the Truman Doctrine, and he, and therefore the United States, considered it to be our global responsibility to contain communism, to spread the word of democracy, okay? All right, Truman's rhetoric suggested that the U.S. had assumed a permanent global responsibility to support freedom-loving peoples wherever communism threatened them, and then, you know, the spread of these ideals will grow and garner support, and then agencies will be developed to enforce these things, such as the National Security Council, which becomes Homeland Security over time, but the CIA, which took the premise of the FBI and made it an international enterprise. Okay, so this comes out of our early Cold War era. All right, so the Marshall Plan. This is named after Secretary of State George Marshall, which he pledged that the United States would contribute billions of dollars to finance the economic recovery of Europe coming out of the war, which was suffering, so food shortages, raw materials, such as cotton, okay, think about the southern United States. But yeah, so food shortages in Europe, and then also rebuilding all of the devastation that had taken place over years of war there. Okay, so the Marshall Plan offered a positive vision to go along with containment and proved to be one of the most successful foreign aid programs in history, all right? So yeah, the Soviet Union presented a stark opposite of democracy and free enterprise, and that would be really the advertising campaign, if you will, behind the Cold War, okay? All right. So going off of what I was just saying, with the Marshall Plan, this pledge to contribute money to help rebuild and supply food to refugees and those who needed it. All right, so that's happening in Europe. So let's talk about what's happening in Japan, all right? Okay, the reconstruction of Japan. So this was led by General Douglas MacArthur after the war, and the Japanese adopt a new democratic constitution. This was done, well, anyway. So they adopt this new democratic constitution, which was, depending on who you talk to, kind of forced upon them. But anyway, so yes, they adopt this constitution. Changes a lot of policies, but it does incorporate women's suffrage for Japanese women to be able to vote. Okay, so the main focal point of this plan is economic recovery. So American economic assistance, new technologies, and low spending on military were kind of the aims. And the technological boom that comes out of Japan, especially starting in, the 70s and 80s, is kind of fueled by this point in time where there's focusing on new technologies. They start small and build over time. Okay, but anyway, so this is implemented as a reconstruction plan for Japan. Okay. This is a short video indeed, but this is actually the halfway point of this chapter. So I am going to call it so that I can get it uploaded in time to go to my class after this. So I will stop here. I will pick back up with the Berlin blockade and NATO. So we'll see what is happening in Berlin after, you know, the war ends. The European front of the war ends there, specifically in that city. Okay, so I will pick up there. If you all have any questions, if you need anything, shoot me an email, and I will see you later. Okay, bye.